Jacob Ryan Loomis, missing from Kalispell, Montana. Jacob Loomis was 24 and was last seen on 9th Avenue in Kalispell, Montana. The 5'8", 120-pound man was last seen with his girlfriend Nikki and best friend Skylar in October of 2019. The three of them had planned to travel to go hunting, likely around Eureka or Libby, Montana. He was actually from Oregon, and he'd moved to Montana just a few months earlier. He was staying at the Samaritan House, which is both a homeless shelter and a transitional living center. And reportedly, things seemed to have been looking up for Jacob. People found that he had a solid work ethic, and he was working 2 jobs to get back on his feet and to get his life here in Montana on track. It's noted that in addition to being 5'8", with brown hair and brown eyes, Jacob had a Celtic tattoo that can be seen here. His pinky finger was injured at the time of his disappearance. The suspicious part of this case is that the 2 people he was with, whose names are reported to be Skylar and Nikki, have refused to speak to the police about where he might be. And because he had a solid work ethic, it wasn't like him to skip out on his jobs. And he left all of his belongings behind. If Jacob is still alive, he would be 27. Jacob Loomis has been missing for 3 years. His parents are desperate for any information. Please contact the number given. Leah Roberts, missing from Whatcom County, Washington. Leah Roberts was born in 1976 in Durham, North Carolina. Not long before she graduated from high school, her father would develop a chronic lung disease. As her father began fighting his battle to live, in 1995, she would begin to attend North Carolina State University, both studying and playing soccer for the school. She would have to leave the university just a year later, as her mother would die suddenly from heart disease. It was a lot at once, but bad things still kept happening. She returned to college in 1998, but then she got in a serious car crash. She would shatter her femur, requiring a metal rod to be put in to stabilize her leg. She also punctured a lung, but she recovered, and with that, she got a new lease on life. She would later tell her sister Cara that when she saw the truck she was about to collide with, that she believed she was going to die, saying that the fact that this didn't happen made her feel born again. Leah began soul searching. In 1999, Leah decided a trip to Costa Rica was what she needed. But as she prepared for this trip, her father passed away. She decided to stop putting off her life and decided to still take that trip, which was at this time 3 months away. She would give her sister power of attorney to handle her bills and keep preparing. She took the trip as planned. By now, Leah was really close to graduating with a degree in Spanish and anthropology. It's described that she has 6 months left of study. And though she was close to graduating, she decided to drop out, something that her family wasn't thrilled about. Her brother pushed her to keep going, and she was adamant that she was done. She was fascinated by a book called The Dharma Bus. The author writes of his journey to Washington's Desolation Peak, and it was a journey Leah wanted to take. She adopted a kitten that she would name Bee, and she began the journey on her own. The lookout isn't publicly available to hike any longer, but it had been. The hike is on a trail that offers views of Ross Lake, eventually climbing into the mountains, culminating in a peak that's about 4,400 feet high. You could see the Jack Mountains and Josemine Mountain in Canada. The view used to end in the lookout. Leah had embarked on a journey of self-discovery, paying her way with the funds she inherited from her parents' passing. She took up photography and began writing poetry. She was excited to have a plan and the ability to follow in her favorite author's footsteps, and she hopefully planned to rediscover herself along the way. The morning of March 9th, 2000, everything seemed pretty normal. Leah was in her apartment in North Carolina. She seemed totally fine when she talked to her sister Cara on the phone. They didn't have a specific date, but they set up a plan to get together soon. Leah spoke later that day to her roommate, and the 2 women made plans to babysit together the following day for some unnamed child. The roommate, Nicole, left for work the same day, and when she returned, Leah wasn't home. Leah's 1993 Jeep Cherokee was also gone, but she didn't think much of it, at least not until the following day when Leah failed to show up at the given time at the babysitting job. By now, the roommate, Nicole, was getting worried. It wasn't like Leah to flake on her. The following day was the 11th. This was 2 days after the plan to babysit had been made, as well as the conversation between Leah and her sister that ended with those two planning to get together. Her disappearance made 0 sense. Nicole reached out to her sister, and on the 4th day, March 13th, Leah Roberts was reported missing. On March 14th, Kara and Nicole decided to search Leah's room. They would find a note written by Leah. It contained a one-line reading, "I'm not suicidal, I'm the opposite." It also referenced Leah's fascination with the book Dharma Bus, as well as a drawing of a Cheshire cat's smile on the paper. There was also a pile of cash. The amount was set to cover 1 month of Leah's share of rent and living expenses. It was really strange, and a lot of Leah's belongings were gone. The fact that she left cash for rent made the two women believe she was coming back. The cat that she had just adopted, named Bee, was also gone. Her sister Kara would realize that she still had the power of attorney regarding Leah's account, and she could thankfully use this to check on her bank. She was able to check to see if Leah was spending money and where. She would discover that Leah had withdrawn several $1,000s. In addition to the cash she was carrying, she had used her debit card to pay for a motel room outside of Memphis, Tennessee, on March 9th. That was that first day, the day that she disappeared. So she got that far and got a hotel room the first night. After that first day, she purchased gas along Interstate 40. The last time she pulled money was from her account on March 13th. By then, she had reached Brooks, Oregon. They caught her on CCTV, and they were able to tell that she was healthy and seemed fine, which was a huge relief. Leah went on to make a series of purchases, all of food or gas, and it indicated that she was traveling west along Interstate 40 before turning north on Interstate 5, when she reached the western end of Interstate 40. The last activity on Leah's accounts occurred in the early morning hours of March 13th in Brooks, Oregon. CCTV footage showed her at the gas station purchasing gas. She was alone and appeared to be in good health, although she did keep looking out into the car park as she made a transaction. It seemed pretty clear that she wasn't in trouble, and she had set out to travel alone, although it seems pretty bizarre to leave without saying why, as well as traveling so very far with a kitten in the car. The plan didn't seem very clear, but they were a little more relaxed as to what was happening. Then on March 18th, Leah's car was found wrecked and abandoned off the side of a logging road in Whatcom County, Washington. After speaking to some of Leah's friends, Kara came to the conclusion that she had most likely left of her own accord and was planning to go on a trip soul searching and then return home. But then something must have happened. Items of her clothing were seen tied along the way from where her vehicle was found. They were tied on trees and around the woods. The vehicle itself was damaged pretty badly. It was estimated that she was going about 40 miles an hour when she went off the road and went down a really steep embankment. The area was actually pretty close to her destination, assuming she had planned to go to the overlook mentioned in the book she loves so much, the Dharma Bus. It's impossible to know what her plan was, if her cat was still with her, if she took her along when she disappeared from the car, or just let her out. She did have cat food and a carrier inside of the vehicle. The items in the car were thrown all around, but it was pretty clear it had rolled, and the movement of the items were consistent with that. There was 0 blood noted anywhere. She had a blanket placed over the glass from the broken window. It doesn't appear she had a cell phone. They weren't as common then. Maybe 1 in 3 people had them in the year 2000. Without a cell phone, she might have been hurt or felt she was in trouble and went to get help. The weird thing, though, is that her belongings are scattered in the woods in a way that didn't seem to be about marking trees or locations. Obviously, clothes on trees could be about marking a location. However, there were things strewn about like CDs. Her checkbook was found outside with checks still inside. And even more alarming, a pair of pants were abandoned that had $2,500 inside of the pocket. Her passport, too, was found outside the vehicle. Her mother's engagement ring meant more to Leah than anything she owned, and it was found under the passenger side floor mat. There was no blood found at all inside of the vehicle. The fact that the ring was found was shocking to her family, as they didn't think she would have taken it off voluntarily. Another weird thing is there were no signs of the wreck as far as a stretched safety belt or blood if she wasn't buckled in. A man would call later to tell authorities that he and his wife saw a woman they think was Leah, saying she was at a Texaco station in Everett, Washington. He spoke to her and she was confused, saying she wasn't sure who she was. However, the man hung up before giving his own contact information. The police were pretty sure he was being honest. However, there was no way to question him again. The police would begin to work on a theory that she was trying to walk to her destination, walking toward the Mount Baker Highway, possibly being picked up by a passing motorist. Her vehicle would be towed and held onto. It was examined, and it was found inside that someone had cut a wire that would cause the car to accelerate, even if someone was not pushing the gas pedal, which might explain why there was no signs of her having been inside the car. She likely wasn't. They believe the blanket on the windshield makes sense if it was being set up to look like someone crawled out, but nothing explains the items found outside the vehicle. Did Leah leave the ring under the mat as a clue? But if someone else was involved, why would they leave the cash? Nothing makes sense. They went back with helicopters and scanned the area. They also went back with cadaver dogs, as well as metal detectors. The metal detector was in hopes of finding the metal rod that was in Leah's leg. None of it turned up anything. This is yet another one that isn't very logical, and there aren't any clear answers. When Leah Roberts went missing, she had sandy blonde hair, blue eyes, a beauty mark on the right side of her face near her upper lip, a rod in her right femur, and dimples. She was a cigarette smoker, a vegetarian, and 5'6" tall. She spoke with a Southern accent, and she also spoke fluent Spanish. Leah Roberts has been missing for nearly 22 years. She was 23 years old when she went missing and would be 45 years old today. As always, thank you so much for watching. The current goal for the channel is 20,000 subscribers. Please consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss new episodes. Thank you so much to everybody commenting. Even with just an emoji, it really has made a big difference. Without it, there isn't a channel, so thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves and each other.